Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
There he is. There's my partner in crime.
Here I am indeed, and as always, it's a pleasure to be chatting with you, mate.
Now you're in rather high spirits today, Drew, and I think I know why. It's because it's almost time for the brand new season.
Oh, yes, buddy. I am very much looking forward to getting started on season 8, but first, I'm excited to do a bit of reminiscing.
Yes, of course. So following on from our brilliant Best of Guests show last week, and wasn't it a cracker, mate?
Oh, yes.
Today we get to have the final word, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we always do, mate.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah, I do indeed. And I can't wait either. So let's not wait. Ladies and gents, here are our favourite highlights of season 7 featuring us. Are you allowed to talk to people on Zoom when mummy and daddy aren't there?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, you look so fresh-faced and innocent. This is obviously not my friend Sam Dunning sitting there. It is someone a quarter of his age.
Right. So what's happened over the past few weeks is that every time one of us greets the other, it's very much in reference to appearance. So we keep alienating the podcast viewers because they're not podcast listeners because they're not viewing on YouTube. Honestly, ladies and gents that are listening rather than watching, you are missing absolutely nothing. Drew is merely alluding to the fact that I currently have no facial hair. So I've had a shave. I've had a job where I needed to be clean shaven. And so I don't have a beard. I'm not sure it makes me look a quarter of my age because that would make me in the region of 9. So I think the grey and other bits probably give that away.
I was being generous, Sam. I mean, but you say the viewers are missing. You know, the listeners are missing nothing. I mean, I think they're missing seeing the light bounce off your youthful skin like an exploding star. How about that, mate?
Yeah, admittedly, the lighting in my studio is a bit more friendly than my portable setup or the setup I've got here in the flat anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I got contacted by a mutual friend of ours to basically do some voiceover. So Susie, if you are listening, thank you so much for getting in contact. But she got in contact with me and said, look, I'm working with this company who are looking for people to do some voiceover, but specifically dubbing. And it's not something I'd ever done before. I've done, as you have, ADR, where you redo your own voice over certain clips of film. Perhaps if the audio has failed, or perhaps if certain things need to be done differently, or it hasn't picked up for some reason. And I don't know, have you done animation stuff before? Have you ever done voiceover for animation?
I've done a tiny bit for animation, not as much as I'd like, but yeah, it is a particular discipline.
Yeah. So this was something that I'd sort of done before, but this in fact was dubbing a Ukrainian TV show into English for an American market. So
wow.
And it was intriguing, something that I'd never done before, and discovered that actually there's an incredible art to it, because it's not just a case of read the translation. You have to obviously get all the emotion in and what's going on in the scene and the movement, and if someone's eating or if someone's running, you've got those extra sort of breathless or noises or whatever. But equally, you're trying to make what you're saying fit to the shape of what they're saying. So quite often you will slightly adapt the words, or the production team will say to you, right, we're going to try this instead to make it fit better, or the timing of what you say. So a really, really intriguing but immensely enjoyable experience that was. And hopefully I'll be going back to do some more with them fairly soon.
The discussion over the past, week or so has been, a new Faulty Towers or a reboot, whatever reboot means. But I mean, there's going to be characters in that. Well, I mean, it's like, what does reboot mean? When I can reboot my computer, you reboot a television series, you're making another series. That's what it means. Fuck off with your reboots. Sorry, it's annoying me. There it is.
Well,
I'm
it's
pissed off.
resurrecting it, isn't it? It's
well, in the case of 40 Towers, I think it would be resurrecting it because I mean I've been associated it with for many a long year, and the character that I play and love has passed away. We've lost so many of that series. So many of the characters, but I suppose that's why he's, Mr. Cleese is setting it somewhere different with with his daughter, which is a little bit like Mammy's Boys. Let's get the family involved.
The premise is that I've not read a huge deal about it, but the premise is that it's an estranged daughter he didn't know he had, as in not John Cleese, of course, actually his daughter, but Basil Fawlty, daughter he didn't know about, and they're going into business together in a new hotel or something.
Running a boutique hotel in the Caribbean.
Right.
And it's him dealing with the modern world.
This isn't a way for Mr. Cleese to write off a Caribbean holiday to tax, is it? It's not expensing a holiday.
Well, I mean, it's going to be, I don't know, 6, however long it takes to film. It's going to be nice. It's going to be done in the sunshine, isn't it? But I mean, I'll come out. I think it's a bad idea.
Okay.
I think it was just the same if they started. I mean, it's the same as if they. I mean, arguably one of the finest situation comedies ever. It's Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. If you love it, then you love it to bits. It's like Only Fools and Horses. Like, would they make another one of those? No, leave it alone.
Well, they
nearly did,
didn't they? They did Rock and Chips, which was a prequel.
Yeah. But that was sort of different. I mean, Cleese is going for something, another elephant in the room is, obviously when Cleese does anything, is it just to pay the alimony? Well, yeah, okay. He's only got a couple of houses left in the world, he had to get rid. He's living in a London flat. Poor man, and he's got a house somewhere else overseas in the sunshine. My heart bleeds, John.
Yeah.
But is it just a platform for him to do this whole sort of anti-wokeism thing as well? Who knows?
But we wanted, in particular, to at least be in person together today because today's episode, Drew, is rather special.
Well, it is rather special. Is it a birthday or is it an anniversary?
Well, I mean, you could technically say, couldn't you, that an anniversary, a birthday is an anniversary because a birthday is the anniversary of your birth. It's just how many years that
haven't really cleared up
why.
No.
haven't answered the question.
Haven't answered the question. Why is it either or? Well, we'll tell you. We have been podcasting. We have been Drewling Samantics for 2 years today.
2 years.
2 years.
It is actually today's our birthday when we're recording this. When you're listening to this or watching this, it will be 2 years and a few days. Probably. But yes, we are 2 years old. Which, if you'd said that to me 2 years ago, well, no. If you told me we'd still be around 2 years. Not be around. No. What am I saying?
Why are you looking at me when you're saying, would you still be around in 2 years' time?
I'm drinking.
I think we should drink.
I think we should before I get even worse. Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Happy
mate.
2 years.
Happy
cheers,
2 years.
everyone.
And
Happy
cheers,
2 years.
everyone who's listening and watching us.
Yes, thank you so much. If you've been with us from the start, then tip our hats to you. I mean,
absolutely.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, get alive.
Yeah. If you're only just joining for the first time, welcome to Drewling Samantics. We've been doing this rubbish for 2 years, and we're still doing it somehow. If you've dipped in and out, if you've come along halfway, if you've done 1 season, if you've done 5 seasons, thank you. Regardless, it's been a pleasure since the off. It really has. Things have changed a lot over the past 2 years. And actually, something we should probably mention as well, Drew, it is 2 years. It's our 2-year anniversary. It is our 2-year birthday. We are 2 years old. But equally, we're hitting another milestone.
We are. We are hitting another milestone. In 1 week's time, we will be recording our 100th episode. This is on our birthday / anniversary. It is our 99th episode today.
This is episode number 99.
99.
So we are essentially doing this episode in person. Number one, because we haven't seen each other this year.
No, we haven't.
Which is madness.
Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary.
There we go. Tick, tick, tick.
All of those done.
One of the big hits on that, was Stranger Things, and the young actors in that got a bit of a hard time, particularly Millie Bobby Brown. And I watched I watched the series, and I really liked her work.
Yeah.
And she got on. You treat her as a star. I mean, wasn't you? She was the first person under 20 to earn $10 million for a movie or something.
She set the record for the highest upfront salary for an under 20 actor, because she did the Sherlock Holmes, or not Sherlock. She was Enola Holmes, wasn't she?
Enola Holmes,
sister or daughter or something, niece or something like that.
But
But for the second one, I think she had an upfront fee of $10 million, which is the highest fee ever paid to someone under the age of 20. And she will be judged on that, like, massively.
I mean, she was going on talk shows, and she's 12, 14 years of age, elevated to the echelons of a star, earning as much money more money than some of the, people 20, 30 years her senior in Hollywood. And she says something, and you go, "Oh, you stupid child." Come on.
She's a child. She is a child.
She is a child, and she's going to say stupid things. You turned her into a star. She's been lauded everywhere. It's like Justin Bieber. I mean, like or loathe him, he can sing a bit, he can dance a bit, and he opened his gob, and he was like, "Yeah, but what do you expect? He's a child. He doesn't know how to behave.
No.
He's not had someone, teaching him how to do this."
They are now both. They're now both in their 20s, I think, aren't they? Or Millie Bobby Brown is 19 or something like that. But they are now adults. But are they now made to pay for some of the things they did when they were younger, because they didn't have the knowledge or the wherewithal to behave as a high-end professional, because they were still children? I mean,
the children, I mean, there was one theatre. They will remain nameless, but a beautiful theatre. And I've toured there 2 or 3 times, and I remember walking back, and it's an old theatre, but it's a beautiful. But backstage, walked down backstage, and it was like, this place hasn't been swept, or it's all been swept to the back of the theatre, which is the bit that I've got to trot through in my costume and my clean shoes backstage. That and I remember touring there a few years back, and there were fag packets in the corner, and I'm thinking, now it's about God knows how many years since you've been allowed to smoke in a building, let alone backstage. So how long have these been here? And you haven't just brushed into the corner. But I mean, it's apart from being unhygienic and uncomfortable, it's probably very unsafe in this day and age of health and safety.
It's interesting you go on to say, because I was going to add to not just untidy and like very unwelcoming and dirty backstage or theatres, but I was going to go along the unsafe, because unfortunately, and I'm well aware that money is an issue for everyone, and theatres are always running on low funds, like nothing ever seems to be. But I have worked in some places where you go, those plugs and those wires there, I'm just going to go and check that the fire alarm systems are working. Just because I've got a bit of a hunch, to be honest with you. And it's thankfully, as you say, it's very, very rare. But there are a few places out there, again, shall remain nameless, that you just think, God, I'm taking my life in my own hands here, just stepping on that stage. I mean, I don't know, could well have termites. Am I going to step on a plank and go right through the stage? Or is the set going to collapse behind me, and then the light's going to short, and God knows what else? So it isn't very often. But, and actually, you've been in the business for about 400 years. So you will have seen the rise and fall very much more, whereas I'm relatively new. So I won't have experienced it quite so much, but I'm sure there have been horror stories and things.
I worked in a theatre once. Again, will remain nameless, but Yeah, it was the backstage wasn't necessarily untied or anything like that. It was, but all sort of there were fuse boxes on walls, cupboards were open, and everything. And I did happen to cast my eye up to the fuse box and noticed that there was an inch nail as a fuse whacked in the fuse. Yes, it was acting as a fuse, and I thought, well, yeah, it was an inch long nail, and I'm not, I know nothing about, I can change a plug and change a light bulb, but I'm not an electrician. But even I know that maybe that wasn't the best, the safest option.
No, I don't think the word safe was ever considered in that.
Not in that instance, no. I think it was just shit. We haven't got any fuses. I think it's one of those occasions when something has gone. Someone's like, that'll work. Bung it in, and it's never been changed for God knows how many years. No one's ever gone back and gone, "Oh, maybe we should take that out." But yeah,
don't fix what ain't broke. Well, you will be when it.
Well, you will be. Yeah. But I found that highly amusing. Right, now I'm going to throw something at you now. A little survey has been carried out by the stage, and knowing your love of the musical, I'm going to ask you a question. Right.
Oh God.
Now, they ran a little survey for the most popular musical of the 21st century that had most popular new musical that had received an Oscar prize, an Olivier for a new musical. So. I'll get this right. 21st best, most popular musical of the 21st century that has won the Olivier for best new musical since 2000.
Since 2000. God.
2000. So that there were 5 of them that came out once they looked at all the categories. That 5 that
have you got the list of 5, or have you just got the winner?
No, I've got the list of 5.
The list of 5.
21 musicals have won the prize. So 21 and 21 all received votes.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Okay.
So they were all voted for. So they will have won the Olivier for the best new musical since 2000.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Book of Mormon won it, but I'm not sure whether it'll be in the 5.
You're right.
It is in the 5.
And it is in the 5.
Okay.
Let's narrow it down. Book of Mormon is number 5.
It's number 5. Okay, so it's a good start. It's all going to go downhill from here, but I'm going to go for Come From Away.
It was one of the musicals, and it just fell out of underneath. It's not in the top 5.
Not in the top 5. The most obvious one that jumps to mind is Hamilton.
Number 2.
Number 2. Oh God.
Very interesting. This I was very surprised, but then not so surprised. God, so you've got 5. You've got 2.
5 and 2. I mean,
you've got 1, 3, and 4 to get.
I'm not sure I'd even know where to go next. I'm trying to think back what.
All right, I'll give you a clue. They asked men, women, and children. They were the 3 categories, and then they amalgamated the results.
Right.
So, what do you think children voted for?
Well, it's the best new musical. Madagascar's not in there, is it?
No.
Best new musical for children. I mean, Frozen?
No.
I'm not sure it even got nominated for anything.
No, it didn't. No.
I'm trying to think. So we're talking since 2000.
This is more recent. Well, recent-ish.
More recent. Oh, I was about to say
recent-ish.
But that removes that. No, you're gonna have to put me on my misery. I wouldn't even know where to go. So
it was Matilda.
Oh gosh, yeah, I forgot.
So in reverse order, going from 5 to 1, we had Book of Mormon. Yep. Then it was Billy Elliot, believe it or not.
God, that's since 2000.
Yeah, Billy Elliot, Matilda was that, Hamilton 2, and the most popular, Jersey Boys. Not necessarily the most visited, but the most popular.
Genuinely, that wouldn't have been in my top 25, 30 to think of.
Very interesting, isn't it? It's a very interesting, very interesting, spread. I mean, there was some. I think the last out of the 21 went down to Hook. I'm trying to remember them all. Come From Away was very high up. There was some very interesting ones in there, but those are the 5 most popular. not necessarily the most attended, but as someone pointed out to me, if you ask 1,000 people, if 300 have been to see Jersey Boys, then that's going to be the most popular because the vote's going to be split. So it's slightly skewed, but it was an interesting, cross section.
For example, you're well aware, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, I am a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, I think he's fantastic. His style of acting and comedy was very straightforward. People suggest it's rubbish, but I think there's a tongue-in-cheek nature to it where he played upon that, and he was the epitome of action hero, and he was almost... Yes, acting is not my first skill. I'm here almost because of how I look and my sporting ability. But he took that on board and went with it. And I think he's great. And equally, the publicity stuff I see of him, and if you follow him on social media, the way he supports people and the way he talks out about issues, he seems like a really genuinely positive person. However, he was in one of my favorite movies, brilliant movie, Total Recall, which they remade, and I can't remember how long after. It was a good 20 years, I would think.
Got to be about 20 years, yeah.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
In fact, I could probably find it. I've got some lists of various things up, and I'll have a quick look. But yeah, so Total Recall. I think the original. Original was 1990 and the remake was 2012. So 22 years on. Now, I cannot speak outright about it because I have refused to watch the remake. Now, that's now 11 years old, which seems ancient anyway. But it may be a good film for someone who's never seen the original. So there may be fans of the original who watched the remake and thought equally as good, better, whatever. But I have such a love for the original that I cannot bring myself to watch. It seems like a shortcut has been taken. Like, this film was great, it was really successful. Well, let's just do it again with new people and we'll make some money. That's how it feels.
It's like doing a play, isn't it? You do a play, it's very successful. The next time you put it on, you get some new people, you get a new take on that play. You do Hamlet thousands of times. You just different actor has a different, I mean, I'm like you with Total Recall. I mean, The Italian Job is one of my favorite films, the original.
Yeah,
I've not seen the remake.
Neither have I.
I know that because to me, and I know there are fantastic actors in it. There are good actors. I like Mark Wahlberg, and they're great, but they bring nothing to the story. No. And modern filmmaking brings nothing to the story that wasn't already there. And there's things that they did back when they made the Italian Job that because of PC and stuff like that, you can't do now. And you think, it lacks. It's you can throw as much money at it and throw as much action at it as you like, but I mean, you still won't get those minis driving through the sewers, supposedly in Italy. Apparently it was in Croydon, but I mean, you still won't get those. Yeah, apparently it was shot in Croydon, but you still are not. You can't beat that. You're not. You can. What are you going to do? So sometimes
quite away from all that as well. And this is going to go seriously off topic now, because I'm a big car fan. I hate BMW Minis because it's not mini. It's not small.
Not mini.
A mini was mini. That was the point. It was mini. BMW, if they called it a BMW compact or something, fine, great. Do you know what? They're brilliant cars. I've driven some and they are fantastic to drive. But don't call it a mini. It's a fucking insult. So I'll tell you something that really, really, really irritates me, and I want to put it in the bin, put it into room 101, is doing an audition and not hearing back. Ooh. So I'm not talking about doing an audition and then being told, no, you haven't got the part, or being told that, sorry, we don't think you were right for it, or you were shit. I am talking about, sadly, the 99%, and you'll agree here, and anyone...
Oh, I'm nodding.
Will agree. The 99 times out of 100 where you do an audition or do a casting or a self-tape or whatever, and that's the last you ever hear. I mean, most of the time, you don't even get a confirmation that it's been received when you send off a self-tape or whatever. No. But if I could put anything in my entire career and everything, all my experiences and whatever, into Room 101, it's the not even getting a simple email that just says, thanks, but no thanks. There. How about that one for you, Drew?
I would like to extend that.
Oh.
I would like to extend that to something that I believe is changing now. It's nearly in Room 101, and I want to give it a shove into Room 101. But it is, and any actors are sitting there will know you have been penciled for the role. You know, and you either get, if you've applied for it yourself and you do an audition, nowadays a self-tape, something comes back and they're very interested and they say you've been penciled. In other words, your name has been written down in pencil, which means they can always rub it out if they don't want you.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that so much. It's being penciled is great because you think, okay, I'm being considered for this role. That's wonderful. I've done a fairly decent job, and that's quite nice. But then, until very, very recently, and still there are occasions, you don't bloody hear.
No.
And there's a spurious little thing comes through, and about 10 days after you've decided you haven't got the job anyway, they go, all pencils on blah blah job are now released. And I sit there and go, well, that's pretty bleeding obvious because it's 2 weeks ago and you filmed it now anyway.
No shit, Sherlock. Yeah,
exactly.
Do you know,
it's so frustrating.
The being penciled is quite common in extra work, isn't it? When you do
adverts,
whatever it is. But have they not? And I could be wrong here because I've done very little of it. I do sometimes do like stand-in work or stunt work, which is slightly different. But not only have you got penciled, but you've got heavy pencil, and I do believe there is a very heavy pencil.
Yeah. What? I know, but I mean, it's hysterical. We started off. And we've spoken about it obviously a lot of times, but we started off in lockdown, twiddling our thumbs, not being allowed to work, leave the house, get together. And as you know, Sam and I worked together regularly. We weren't able to do that. We weren't able to do anything really, except I got a phone call one morning and Sam said, "Mate, we should do something about this. Why don't we get together and chat and talk about what the times were doing to us and how we were reacting to those times of being out of work and struggling financially, not to say mentally, because it was a very stressful time, and I know I certainly went through stress about cash, work, etc., etc. But more than that, we discovered there were a lot of other people. There were hundreds, there were thousands of other people going through the same, but in particular in our business. And so we said, look, why don't we talk about ourselves, how we're dealing with things? And then, of course, we started to hear more about other people. So let's get some guests on. And we've been so lucky to be joined with so many talented, brilliant people. That was how we started. We started to try and make things a little bit easier. But we've discovered a purpose along the way. We've discovered a purpose.
Yeah, we're no longer just floating aimlessly and trying to entertain each other. On a serious note, we started in lockdown. And as you said, not only were we worried about money and lack of work and things like that, but also the isolation side of things. We were both lucky to be locked down with other people. Whether those other people would agree that they were lucky, we don't know. But it was a huge strain, and particularly think of people who were locked down on their own, who must have struggled immensely, or I'm not suggesting they all struggled immensely, but I can only imagine what a lot of people felt if they were on their own. But I missed working, but actually I missed human contact with people who mean a lot to me, or people that I was spending a lot of time with that then I wasn't able to. And in particular, obviously yourself, we worked together so often that to then go to absolutely nothing and no contact was really strange. And I have to say, as sort of dramatic as it might sound, I think the podcast went part of the way to saving me, to keeping me going. I was finding it more and more difficult to deal with the fact that my first love my passion for work.
I wonder what you were going to say then.
no, you don't get that title.
Not that far.
No, but the fact that the thing that I adore, which is my job, among other things, obviously, but I'm talking from a work perspective. I've been lucky enough for the past however many years to be doing a job that means the world to me, and I really, really enjoy. That was taken away from me through no one's fault, other than maybe some random Chinese person eating a bat. I'm not allowed to say that, probably. Yeah, just imagine we didn't hear that.
Other causes of COVID are available.
Yes. Sorry to all the population of bats out there. I'm not blaming all
And
of
China.
you. Oh yeah, them as well.
Yeah, them as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
No, we're gonna get letters now.
Yeah,
emails, letters.
We're not going to make it to 100.
Twitter,
We're 99 is the end.
It, that's it. We've done so well. We've not offended too many people, and a whole nation.
Wow.
And a breed of small mammal. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, mate, we didn't get cancelled. Could have been a close one, though.
No, it's okay, Drew. We know that our wonderful listeners and viewers understand our humour, luckily.
Yeah, which is a miracle in itself, as half the time I'm not sure we get what each other are rabbiting on about.
No, that's right. But speaking of getting things, mate, it's time for me to get another beer.
Oh, well, I think I'll grab one myself, mate.
Right, you topped up, Drew.
I am indeed, Sam. Let's see if we avoided being controversial in our next clip. Hey!
There he is. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. How you doing? You well?
Not bad. It feels like forever since I last saw you. It's
Yeah, it's only it's only a couple of. Well, no, it's last week, and then we were live. We were together, weren't we? In the flesh.
We were in the. I mean, we weren't
speaking.
live. Can you imagine if we did one of these live? People would turn off after like 10 minutes, and if they didn't, if they were that mental that they wanted to stay to the end, they'd realise that we record so much bollocks that these are so sort of trimmed and edited down that they'd be like, Jesus, never doing that again. It's. I once saw QI being filmed live years and years ago, and it was like a 3 or 4 hour process, which obviously I knew it was going to be. But even when they were repeating stuff, it was entertaining. If people watched us live, no, they would not find it as entertaining, I doubt.
I mean, I have to say, we do know and have had as guests some amazing comics that could do a warm up for us, keep everybody entertained whilst we were talking shit. So,
But I'm not sure that counts as a warm-up, mate. That's more of a talking over or instead of us. So
just filling in, really. Yeah.
Here's another random one. What about Mouth Machio, who went on to have and here's a fact for you that I bet you don't know, Drew. So obviously people remember him from all sorts of different things, but mainly starting out in The Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. Yeah.
Wax on, wax off. How old was he? In the Karate Kid, what was he? 12, 13? The kid in Karate Kid. I can't.
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio was 22 when he filmed that. 22 years old. Yeah, isn't that incredible?
Wow.
I mean, and we mentioned the late Gary Coleman, who he had a physical condition, didn't he, that made him very small and made him very youthful looking. Ralph Macchio just looked young, I think. But yeah, at the age of 22, was playing a 13-year-old or 12-year-old.
Another fabulous film, Thomas Crown Affair. The original was just beautiful, shot in the most beautiful way. I mean, the split screen when they're playing chess. There's not been a finer moment of filmmaking, in that genre. And then they made. Now I watched the next one. And I go, okay, all right, I quite like this. And they made a different film, complete different style of filming, and they told the story in a different way. And I went, why? But I happen to like Pierce Brosnan, and I thought he brought one of my favorite Bonds. He brought a style and a panache to that film that I didn't think anybody else, I didn't think they could do, and he did it. But the original film was about. It was the characters. It was the affair. The next one, they made that about the heist and about and I thought that's a very clever take. I also think Pierce Brosnan is a very, very, very underrated actor. There we go.
So I can play devil's advocate here, because having just said Italian Job, only watched the original, wouldn't watch another one, Total Recall, blah, 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 blah. I've only ever seen the Pierce Brosnan version of the Thomas Crown Affair.
Interesting.
And because of that, I would be very reluctant to watch the original. Steve McQueen, isn't it? The original?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be very reluctant to watch that because, again, Thomas Crown Affair, the 90s version, is one of my all-time favourite films.
It's a beautiful film.
Phenomenal in it, and the storyline and how it all combines together, and equally the cinematography in that I think is superb and very cleverly put together. Now, I'm worried, or not worried, that's the wrong word, but I fear perhaps that if I watch the original, it might jeopardize my memories and my love of the remake. So it's an intriguing one. Now, you're obviously telling me they're very different films, but everything is personal choice, isn't it? Everything is personal interpretation. For me, it might be like, oh shit, this is exactly the same. Who knows?
What we've discovered since then, that we've gone a little bit further than that, haven't we?
Yeah,
I think things have. I mean, obviously, it hasn't disappeared yet, but it isn't what it was. You know, lockdown ended, and then it started again, and it ended and started again. You know, several times. You know, I mean, let's face it, COVID retired more times than Madonna. You know, and still came back. But you know, but we found. I don't know where that came from.
It just something came into my head suggesting that we need to vaccinate against Madonna, and it just. How many more people can we offend?
I know we're doing really well, aren't we?
If we try really hard, we will get cancelled before we get to episode 100.
I think probably one of you know, and I mean Jack Wilde and Mark Lester. You know, they made Oliver. I think Jack was one of the finest performances ever in a movie by a child actor. You know, for me, it blows. Harry Potter out of the water as a performance from an actor. Just, you know, not knocking Daniel Radcliffe, but and then he had a very troubled life. Couldn't pull himself together. But you're elevated to that stardom at that age.
Yeah.
But he pulled himself around. You know, he's I mean, I knew him very, very briefly in later life. I went to see him in a couple of shows. Stunning actor, absolutely stunning. And then Mark Lester as Oliver. He did Oliver. They did another little film together called Melanie, or Sealed with a Loving Kiss. And now Mark Lester went off, and he's not a psychotherapist, but he's you know, physiotherapist or whatever, working in the West End. You know, changed his life completely.
Exactly.
You know,
but a good example of that, perhaps for slightly more modern, is Frankie Muniz, who was Malcolm in the Middle. And I think, I mean, he did a few films as well, sort of alongside. He did was it Spy Kids? He did stuff like that. Yes, I do believe, and I could be completely wrong, and I'm sure people will message us and say, Sam, you're an idiot. But I think he went into being either a racing driver or like a stunt driver or something like that. We discovered, was it last week? I think Alec Baldwin is now going to be charged with I believe it's involuntary manslaughter. Is that the correct?
That's the one, yeah.
Or so back in, I want to say it was October last year, October 21, I believe, on the set for Rust, which is his brand new Western film that I believe he's producing and starring in. I've got limited details on certain things, but I will do my best to provide what I have got for anyone that isn't aware. And there was a very, very tragic incident where a gun was mistakenly fired, or a gun that was supposedly a prop gun turned out not to be, or was loaded with blanks and was fired, and resulted in the death of Helena Hutchins, cinematographer, very, very talented lady. Essentially an enormous accident, a terrible tragedy. Obviously nothing was deliberate, but it resulted in her death. And I believe actually the director, Joel Souza, I think it is, or something.
Yeah, yeah. He was injured, wasn't he?
He was injured by the same bullet, by the same bullet.
Yeah.
But he survived. He was in hospital, but he did survive, whereas she sadly passed away. Now, Mr. Baldwin was holding the gun and again, inverted commas, fired the gun. But it's an interesting story because he is now being held, him and the armourer. In fact, I've written her name down somewhere. Bear with. So the armourer is called... God, why can't I find it? Hannah Gutierrez Reed. She was the armourer on the film. They're both being charged with involuntary manslaughter. Now, I am not going to go on either side of the fence because it is not my position to do so. However, I do want to discuss it. I do want to mention it briefly because I'm a little bit shocked, personally, that Alec Baldwin is being charged because you read some of the information, and again, it's one of those situations we'll never know what happened because we weren't there, and the media will scapegoat and will exaggerate and do whatever. However, as far as I can tell, he was handed the gun, whether it was by her or by someone who was in her employ or working for her team, but he was told, this is a prop gun, it is loaded with blanks. Now, I've been on sets, you've been on sets where we've had to deal with weapons, and there's been an armourer or there's been a team of armourers there to deal with those sorts of things. You don't just get chucked a gun and do what you want with it. The number one rule is you never actually point a weapon at someone and fire. You always aim off, and the cinematographer or the DOP or whoever will make it look as though it's pointed in the right direction, and it's done like that. But I personally, and this is as far as my opinion is going to sort of come in, and I'm not going to, again, sort of argue with lawyers who have made decisions and people who are prosecuting and doing whatever. But if I was on a set and I was handed a prop weapon by an armourer or someone from the team of the armourers, and I was told, this is loaded with blanks, this is a prop, at that point, I am taking that word as gospel. I am not going to question that because someone far more trained and far more important and far more qualified than I has said that. So that to me is a fact. That is the truth. So I would not be questioning that or checking that. From reading some of... Go on, sorry.
No, as I say, putting yourself in Alec Baldwin's position, if you are, like you say, if you are handed a gun and you are told it is safe to use because they are blanks, then you take them on their word, as you said.
Yeah.
If someone says, right, that's your gun, I believe it's safe to use, will you check it? If then he didn't, then he is in some way culpable. But I don't believe he was told to check it. Again, we don't know every fact that's said on set. I'm wondering, and is it just me because I don't know the law either about how the legal system works on these. I'm wondering whether, because the gun was loaded with live ammo, and we'll never know how that happened, well, we might find out, but because of that gun was loaded by the armourer and then given to someone who fired it, are they culpable because they've both delivered a bullet that injured and then killed someone? Is that how the law is seeing it? Because it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because then you've got to feel sorry for both. You've got to feel sorry for all the parties. It's a tragedy.
Of course.
But if you say, well, you put it in there, you're culpable because you got it wrong. You pointed the gun and fired it, so you delivered the bullet that has injured someone and killed someone. Yeah. Maybe that's the way they're seeing it. I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky one because you say you do things by trust. You are. It's like if a stuntman says, "Okay, everything's safe. You can jump off there." If you jumped and things weren't safe, and if I jumped off a building and I hit something that then killed someone, do you know what I mean? If I hit something that fire, would I then be guilty of that, having been told by the stuntman it's all safe to do?
I guess this is where the grey area comes in. I mean, I'm one of the purists. I've only ever seen the original trilogy of Star Wars. I've never watched any of the others because
I've never. Well, I've never watched. I can't comment. I've never watched a Star Wars film.
No, you've never watched any of them because you're weird.
No.
And actually, what we should have said at the beginning, if we'd known we were going to go on this massive rant, is that if either of us end up in a film franchise and end up doing lots of remakes and reboots, then we will fully support it, and we absolutely believe that it's the best thing ever because we want to keep working. Thank you very much. We love you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Look, Other sequels are available.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I sound cynical about it, and I mean, I'm one of the people. I think the Godfather trilogy is one of my favorite. I think the third film is a good film. It's a different film. It deals with something different than the first two. It's still, there was still something to say. There was still a button to be put on it. For me, it worked. Not for everyone. I understand why. But I think if at the end of the day, like you say, it's about making money and people working. And if somebody offered me a Star Wars movie, I would, bite their arm off to do it and probably have to spend a week watching every film beforehand. But if anybody offers me a sequel, I'm not adverse. I'll do them.
No.
But it's a healthy discussion to have, because if you're having the discussion, then we are actively making things better, and making stuff that's, hopefully we think about it. If you think about it, it improves. If we don't talk about things, then we get complacent.
No, exactly. And at the end of the day, we've got to make sequel episodes on a podcast. We've got to keep them coming, and we've got to keep the content coming. And if people don't keep remaking things and doing whatever, then we'll have nothing to talk about. But it's weird, I guess. How far apart is the thought of a series of films with sequels to a series of TV shows which has multiple episodes?
Yeah.
I've
got a tiny little thing here. Just it's a tiny little thing. I know we sometimes do a little bit of news, and we say about people who have passed away. Little interesting thing I picked up the other day. I read that Lisa Loring. It would be her birthday. Yeah. Now she played. No, I'll tell you what. It would be her birthday tomorrow. She was born on the 16th of February, and she died on the 28th of January this year. Lisa Loring played the original Wednesday Addams in the Addams Family series. Yeah, it would be her birthday tomorrow. I forget what year she was born. 47, something like that. But yeah, it would be her. It would be her. But and of course, we all know that Wednesday Addams is storming it at the moment.
Look at that! What a lovely way to tie everything together. Very clever of you, and equally to reveal to the world that it's actually Wednesday that we're recording.
Well, it is this week because I'm not available. Yeah,
because you're buggering off and doing other things. There's been a thing in the news recently, and it's not directly linked with us technically, because
what could that be?
Yes. Because it's not necessarily the performance side of media, but it's certainly relating to entertainment and should we say freedom of speech, which I think
I think it's freedom of speech. I think we have to
rely on quite heavily, because we like to talk about and give views on things. So I am going to draw awareness to the fact that hopefully there will be the death of some outdated, incorrect and inappropriate policies within the BBC. Now, we'll probably get people messaging us now and telling us that we're idiots for supporting my favourite crisp representative. But although he hasn't done crisp adverts for a long time, has he?
Not for a while. No.
Obviously, we're talking about Gary Lineker and the fact that he was. I was going to say sacked. He wasn't sacked. He was. What's the word?
Suspended.
Suspended. Thank you. It began with S. I was close, and it referred to not doing your job. So he was suspended, which obviously has now been reversed, and they have sort of recognised that they were in the wrong. But I have to say that as much as it was an awful situation, the unity and the support of his fellow broadcasters and people involved. I mean, I don't think any Premier League teams, for example, allowed the BBC to interview any players post match, and commentators were not involved, and anyone that is a football fan and watched Match of the Day will know what a pile of shite it was without any pundits and stuff. So so here's to hopefully what will be the first death of many outdated policies that are corrupting the BBC and affecting, having a negative effect on people's freedom of speech and ability.
Well, it was. I mean, it's interesting. I I agree. I mean, it is freedom of speech, and it is censorship in its way. But I mean, also, it was just confusion. It's like there's no clarity. It's like where if you knew where you stand, and I don't think he didn't. It wasn't as if Gary Lineker was said, oh, so here's here's a 2-1 to Everton. Oh, by the way, blah. He didn't use his platform to make the statement, and he should be entitled to his point of view. And wherever you stand on his politics, on the issue that he was talking about, it's like I defend his right to say it, whether I agree or not. I can't remember who the actual quote now is, but I disagree with you, but I support your right to have your opinion. And I think we should. That's what we're talking about here. Lovely, yeah. Left down a bit, right up a bit. Yeah, to your. Oh, bang on, mate. Bang.
Yeah, I just thought I'd make sure it was straight and make sure the sign looked good, and in you come and you take the piss. I mean, we've been on air for all of 15 seconds. It would have.
Yeah. I wasn't really referring to the sign, mate. I was referring to your hairline.
Oh. Well,
I know. He says, pointing to his own receding hairline. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was facing away from the camera, so you're talking about the hairline on my neck, which is incomparable. I was
just struggling to find a gag there, to be honest.
Story of your career, isn't it, Drew? Anyway, and we're in, and we're going
back at you. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard some of the news about concerning AI. Artificial intelligence.
Here is a subject that is enormous, particularly in our areas of expertise.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a little bit in the press recently about some of the big tech companies saying we should back off a little bit. I mean, Apple and Microsoft have said, the director going, well, we just slow down the development. It's not good for, humanity. And was like, well, we know that. But then there's been further reports during the week of, and and I know that AI is replacing or is able to replace artists doing voiceovers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you said that they only need to record a certain number of words, and then AI can fill the gaps in.
Yeah, it's when you think it's not that long ago that we first started having. Well, I say it's not that long. I couldn't put a date on it, but do you remember when they brought in voice recognition, like if you were doing telephone banking?
Yes.
Like, so rather than having to put in a pin it would recognize your voice. Well, that's now completely null and void because there's software out there and programs out there that can take a sample of someone's voice and then just run with it. And as you say, as a voiceover artist, slightly concerning. I mean, that's a job that's going to vanish. I'm not saying it's going to vanish per se, but could feasibly cut down the amount of work for voiceover performers considerably, because if you've got a computer that can do it, and with the greatest respect to voiceover performers like ourselves and you, it won't make a mistake. Like, we might have to do something twice.
Hey, that's true.
As long as it's typed correctly and the program is functioning correctly. Obviously, there are situations where it may not be, but computers aren't prone to human error. So
I hadn't thought that. Yes. Yeah, your computer's going to be a one-take wonder, isn't it?
Efficiency, yeah.
I mean, if you imagine
your computer wouldn't, because you ain't got a bloody clue what button you're pressing. But
you say that, that's not strictly true.
No, two buttons.
Exactly. But I mean, there's upper and lowercase. They're the ones I work with. But I mean, if you think about but you think you record something, and then if there's sufficient quantity of words or you'll never get the job again. Yet it will still be your voice. Would you get repeat fees for that? Would you get paid for that? Because in a way, it's your physical / intellectual property, because it is your voice on which it's been built.
Yeah,
You
well,
know.
I guess it comes down to similar to doing an advert. You sign that contract to begin with, don't you? How much of what you're giving do you sign away in that contract? Do you say,
Yeah.
right, what I am allowing you to capture now, be that your voice, your video, your whatever, you can use that for 1 year, and you can use it only in these areas or these things that you've called it. But I don't know too much about it other than the fact that I know it happened. But excuse me, James L. Jones gave audio samples, didn't he? So Disney now don't need to. Is that correct? They don't need to use him for any future Star Wars stuff because they've got everything they need.
I think that's right. Yeah. It's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, we are seeing ourselves replaced by ourselves.
Thank you to every single person that tunes in, that downloads the audio episodes or watches on YouTube or streams from wherever you may be. Without an audience, this would just be me and Drew having a call and having a rant.
Yeah, I know.
And maybe that's almost what it started out as, where we weren't necessarily looking for a large audience. It was more to see how it would be taken. But now our audience is what makes us keep going, and we just want this to keep going as long as people want to keep listening and watching us. That's why we're here, because we want this to inspire, to entertain, to cheer up, to shock. Anything we can do for those of you out there who are interested and who give us the time to listen or watch, we just want to keep doing that for you.
We do talk a lot of rubbish sometimes, don't we? But there is that odd occasion where one of us says something straight from the heart. And well put, mate.
Oh, well, thank you. But it was all true. We wouldn't be here without the amazing support we get from our loyal followers, fans, and friends.
And we're certainly hoping that we have just as much support with the brand new season.
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt we will, Drew. And in return, we can promise to make it the best season yet.
Sure. Lots of brilliant new guests, sparkling conversation, top banter, and who knows, maybe even some pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, no, don't push your luck, Drew. I mean, we stick with what we do best, arguing, being grumpy, and taking the piss out of each other.
Yeah, probably safer, isn't it, mate? Probably safer.
Seriously, though, another massive thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for season 8, so make sure you join us then.
Yeah. Cheers, all. And we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed this special highlights episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then make sure you go and watch all our previous episodes in full for even more fun and interesting content. Please consider subscribing to our channel too, and you'll get notified every time a new video is released.
Don't forget we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And we'd love your support on social media as well. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.